Exhale.
Breathe.
Breathe.
Believe.
Breathe.
Be free.
Breathe. Inside. Heart. Align. Breathe. Inside. Inside.
Oh. Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Divine Circumstances. My name is Divine Marie. I am a writer, poet, business owner, healer, and I create safe spaces to allow others to express themselves freely.
And I am he. I have the compatible with me. If you can't feel my language, my speech isn't for you to see. I am a certain frequency, and my name is Circumstantial Saint. And this is Divine Circumstances, and we want to know what makes you flow, what makes your flow divine, what circumstances grow you to align.
And today we will have a session with me and Circumstantial Saint. And we have one guest today, I believe, the Urban Conservative, and he will come on and share with us. And our topic today is inner child. So I'm really excited to dive in and dig in, and because this is like, I feel like it's a topic that's so important and especially part of the healing journey.
Yes.
So
I
yeah.
couldn't agree with you more. Like, Circumstantial Saint started off the back of doing inner child work. And I know it's
Mhm.
something that resonates with us both deeply.
Yeah.
So I'm just as excited about this as you are, for real.
Yes, I'm super excited. So, where should we get started? Do we want to get started with talking about the inner child healing, or should we start with our
Mhm.
poems?
Let's do our poems first, and then
Okay.
we can have like however much time we want to get in depth with,
Yeah, to do the
inner child
breakdown
work.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. For sure. For sure. All right, cool. So, yeah, this is okay. First of all, disclaimer, parents, if you're listening to this, I'm not trying to be mean, rude. I'm not trying to diss y'all, but it's just my experience, and I have to share my experience. So
Hmm.
this is what I have, and it's not finished completely because I feel like I can go so long with this. So
Right,
it's not
right.
completely finished, and I don't really have a title for it. But here we go. Emotional unavailability is what little me screams. 8-year-old me just wanted to be heard, be seen, maybe ask how I was feeling sometimes. Instead, I got left with the spaces in between, where I was unsure if I was accepted by my whole family. Always been a little bit different. Not a single memory of my parents playing with me. So every time I play with my kids, my heart sings. But sometimes I fuck up and let my emotions get the best of me, then just pray it's not something they have to heal from when they're in their teens. Just trying to do better than what was shown to me. Give the little me a hug and tell her nothing's wrong with me. So yeah, that's all I have so far, but that's just the start of it.
I really love that because it kind of touches at a lot of the different parts of like what inner child work like entails. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it talks, you have to go back to the inner child. You have to go back to your childhood to
Yeah,
see how that is a reflection of where you are today, which happens to be my poem is called Reflect. And so that
right.
touches on that. But also like how you're planting seeds for further generations.
Exactly.
And you touching on that is I feel like that's really important. And I feel
Exactly.
like that's something that inner child work at the root of it is about, like reflecting,
Hmm.
transmuting your energy so that the next generation can understand how they're supposed to do that too. So we can continue to be
Exactly.
successive and move up.
Right,
Um,
right.
I
We
want
don't
to
want to
ask
make the
you,
same mistakes twice.
Right.
Yeah.
But then again, with that being said, we also know that the universe will give us lessons time and time again until we learn
Until
them.
we learn them.
So
Yeah,
the
true.
objective is to be one and done. But however, if we're not, show yourself grace, because that just means
Mhm,
that you have a bigger lesson to learn from that specific topic, and
mhm.
do well to look forward to making sure that when you have that situation come up again, that you took heed to the last time it was offered to you.
Right,
Take that stuff that you didn't necessarily learn from and apply it to the new situation that the universe is handing you.
right.
Michael Holmes, blessings to you. Thank you for tuning in to Divine Circumstances. I am my again circumstantial saint. This is Divine Marie.
Hey,
Michael Holmes is out in Minnesota, so thank you for tuning in.
hey, everybody! It's so cool that like people from all over are tuning in. I love that, and that's
Me
really
too.
what this is all about. Like, I really wanted to reach people all over, you know, not just locally, but people all over because I feel like everybody, or the ones that align, could benefit from it.
I couldn't agree with that more. Speaking of that, uh your poem, like, what inspired you to write it? And it resonates with me, but were there any parts or moments that you felt like you needed to, like, make sure that it connected with other people?
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to look back at it and just see what part. Um, okay, so I said 8-year-old me just wanting to be heard and be seen. I feel like that part can resonate with a lot of other people because from experiences like from other people that I've talked to, they kind of feel the same way in childhood sometimes that, that their parents really didn't understand them or really take the time to understand them and understand who they are.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like that could really resonate with a lot of other people.
Hell yeah, it definitely resonated with me because
Mhm.
we need experience from one another and to hear one another. That part definitely resonated with me.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with that more. Uh, I'm gonna go ahead and do my poem because
Okay.
I am actually really excited to get into this discussion and these
I'm
topics today.
excited too. Yes.
um, what's his name? Michael Holmes said facts. Charles E. Kelly said, "You hit me deep already. Blessings
Oh,
to
thank
you."
you so much. Yes, blessings to you. I'm glad that you guys are feeling it and can relate because this is so important. We gotta heal ourselves so we can heal the world. At least try.
And you spoke. I like what you said there because it's about being the change that we want to see in the world. If we're doing
Exactly.
this work, like, I want people to see that I'm doing this work. I know you want people to see that you're doing this work, because at the end of the day, we can lead by example, and hopefully people will pick up what we're putting down.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of why we decided to do this, is to
Hmm.
get closer to people and let people get closer to our work, and
Yeah.
break it down. It's about connection and community.
Exactly. Yes. Definitely all about connection.
I'm going to go read my poem. This is called Reflection.
Okay.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You're going to look, you're going to pick up that book. Self reflection. Give me another lesson. Growth and strife, line stripes and life minds. Get the high, because it may be only be for this, what they say, time. Don't forget, you have sight, insight. Get high off the truth, seek the root, feel the flame within you, and seek the fruit. Give the boot to the ones licking the boot. Reflect on the yards, the scars, the backyards you crawled through when you was young and on guard. Reflect on your journey, the falls and triumphs, givings and takings. It's all
Mhm.
making you reflect all that I be. Poem.
Yes, I love that. There was definitely a couple lines in there that resonated for sure. Like just the way you opened it, you said reflection. What was it? The first line, reflection
Reflection
is
ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you.
yes, Yes.
I think that's important because
Mhm.
really the inner child is, and we're definitely going to get into it. Like for me, I always picture um 5 to 8 year old me sitting Indian style in a dark like place with a light shined on him. And that's kind of what I reflect on when I'm thinking about talking to myself or
Right.
connecting with my inner child. I picture that and then I speak to him or I listen
Mhm.
to what I think he's trying to tell me.
I love
Um,
that. I love how
so I
you
think
said
that's
like
what
you picture 5 to 8 year old you sitting like Indian style with the lights on you. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Cause like when I think of like, my inner child, I think of me just like running through an open field of grass. Like that's always what I think of when I think of my inner child.
I love that. I wonder for viewers, do y'all have any kind of if y'all are doing inner child work or healing on a healing journey, do y'all have a specific kind of physical mental vision of what your inner child looks like, or is there a
Yeah.
kind of feeling that you have your inner child connected to? I'm very curious based off of what you said, because that's I never thought about that. Like,
Mhm.
do you have a vision of what your inner child looks like within inside you? Because like
Mhm.
for me, not only do I look and think about that image, but I also like try and feel that image within me and
Right.
try and
Yeah.
like what's the word, compromise with my inner child, really
Mhm.
and listen to where he is or where he
Yeah.
was, where I currently am, and where together we can get to. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
that's what that first line is speaking to. Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. Like your inner
Yeah.
child is trying to see who you are today, which always will happen because the inner child is within you, right?
Yeah.
But you may not always see your inner child because you're too busy coasting or through
Mhm.
life or on autopilot throughout life.
Yeah. I think that's so important. But also, sometimes, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think sometimes it's okay to not think about our inner child because sometimes I feel like we can, what's the word? Like, do so much reflecting on our inner child and constantly bringing ourselves back to that place, and we kind of act childlike in a way.
Oh my God, what I'm thinking, I can't put into words right now. Like, I definitely agree with you.
Mhm.
If you spend too much time at the playground, what are you going to do? You're going to play. Like,
Yeah.
we need to have those cycles of
Right.
boom and bust, of growth and stagnation. Just like life and
Mhm.
death is the same thing, just a different side of the coin, but it's all one thing. I feel like this is too. And I couldn't agree with that more. Just like the
Mhm.
overall healing journey, as we always say, is not linear.
Right.
So like there's those ups at the peak of the summit where you feel like life is grand and nothing can touch you, but guess what, you have to walk back down, you can't sit at that peak.
Mhm.
And so like the
Yeah.
moments that you're in those crevices are the moments that help define you too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I dig that, and I didn't think, like, I was wondering where you were going with that, and
Mhm.
I do agree with you.
Right. Because I feel like I've even noticed myself doing that at times because I would spend so much time reflecting on my inner child and why do I feel this way? And oh, yeah, going back to childhood because of this thing that happened over and over again. And I kept going back to it over and over again. And eventually I was like, okay, I have to do something to heal from this. I
Right.
couldn't just keep reflecting on it and going back to, oh, this hurt me when I was a child, this hurt me and this hurt me, and that's why I'm like this. But you have to take the steps to heal from it.
Charles Neal said, that's AKA the Urban Conservative. Thank you, my
Oh,
brother. He'll be on shortly. Understanding and connecting with our inner child can be a valuable part of personal growth and healing. It
amen.
involves it involves acknowledging and addressing any unresolved childhood wounds, traumas, or unmet needs. That's a big one. That
Hmm.
may still impact our lives. Wow. By
Hmm.
nurturing and healing our inner child, we can develop greater self awareness, self compassion, and emotional well being. I,
Absolutely.
oh my God, I
Spot
couldn't agree
on.
with that
Yeah.
more.
Absolutely.
Um, Real quick, the self-awareness part I think is
Oh,
really big
yes.
because part of that inner child healing, right, is asking yourself, why do I feel this way? Why am I
Mhm.
reacting this way? Why is that
Mhm.
person why when I'm around this person, I have such a bad reaction to them? Because
Mhm.
it's not them, it's me and what I'm
Yeah.
projecting, and I need to
Yeah.
do that self, hold myself accountable as to why I'm
Right.
feeling that way. Because
Right.
morally, at least for me, that's not okay. I want to
Mhm.
be able to, if my vibe isn't for somebody else or their vibe isn't for me,
Mhm.
I still have love and respect for you,
Right.
and I want to. But sometimes we feel a little icky, and
Yeah.
we have to figure out why that is
Yeah.
because that's important too.
Mhm.
Hey, Mima.
You all love you. Love Carol.
Yes. I want to ask you too. What's your thoughts on that comment? Because that touched on so much right there.
And understanding and connecting with our inner child can be a valuable part of personal growth and healing. It involves acknowledging and addressing any unresolved wounds, traumas, or unmet needs that may still impact our life. That part where he says it involves acknowledging and addressing any unresolved wounds, traumas, or unmet needs that may still impact our lives. That part, because yes, like I think a lot of times people think that a traumatic experience has to be like something super big that happened, maybe like sexual abuse or some physical abuse, something like that. But having your emotional needs unmet in childhood, I feel like have a huge impact on the way that you build relationships in adulthood.
Completely. One thing I want to touch on, and you already know this, and I know you're going to touch on it because I'm
Mhm.
not in a relationship at the moment, and you are married with kids.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm pretty sure that there's no guess about it. When your character of how you are in a relationship, how you are asking to be loved, how
Mhm.
you are acting in a relationship, just your natural being in a relationship is a direct reflection and line to your inner child.
Oh
So
my God, yes.
if there are unmet needs or traumas that stem from your childhood, they are going to manifest in whatever relationship you are in, no matter
Yeah.
what relationship you've been in.
Yeah, exactly. It really does. And I think being self aware helps you realize that. Because I think before I really started becoming self aware, I would just like kind of, act out, or maybe not call it act out, but like get upset and just like not really understanding why I'm getting upset or the damage that it's causing,
Right.
Yeah.
I
Until
think
I
that
became
also
self-aware, then I'm like, oh snap, I do this because in my childhood this happened or this need was unmet. So yeah.
I think especially like in communities of color,
Hmm.
especially Black people, we've been a lot of things that have happened to us where I feel like we have extra inner child work to do, just to
Oh
connect back
man.
to ourselves and bring ourselves together
Yeah.
from traumas that's been handed down. So if there's anyone that really should be doing that, I advise to do that inner child work, it's us because a lot of us
Mm,
um, can be ignorant and can be very reactionary and not even comprehend why we're reacting that way. And
right.
so I feel like that's one big thing that we need to be doing is like, why am I reacting this way? Why do I
Right.
feel this way? And what can I
Hmm.
do to move through this, not
Yeah.
past it, through this?
And that's the thing, through it, because you have to feel it. Like you can't just not try
You
not to
gotta
feel
feel it to
it.
heal it.
Yeah, you have to feel it. And I seen this thing that said, because I love how you said, us as Black people, we've been through generations of trauma. I seen this post that said women, like, I forget exactly what the post said, but it was like when a woman is pregnant, basically she's already carrying like her grandma or her granddaughters. I don't know how to explain the post. But basically like that trauma from women to women is like passed down because when a woman is pregnant, she already has like her granddaughter's like DNA in her, something along those lines. So yes, we're healing generations, like healing generations upon generations of trauma. So yes, giving yourself grace, whew, is so important. You have to give yourself that grace.
You have to, because you'll burn
Mhm.
out and then you won't
Yeah.
be as
Oh my
motivated to
God.
do that internal work.
You will burn out because it can get to be a lot.
And I think that's part of it, because what is life without having those hard moments and those benders and those backbreaking
Hmm.
moments, you know? But
Yeah.
just the same, we need the bit of light, and we need to stop and say, okay, I need to put this down for a moment, and I need to do something to
Yeah.
make, you get what I'm saying.
Self care,
Um,
something.
you touched on self-awareness, and Chaz said self-awareness is the ability to recognize and understand oneself, including our
Hmm.
thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. It involves
Hmm.
being conscious of our own strengths, weaknesses, values, and beliefs. Being
Yeah,
aware of oneself is an important aspect of personal growth and development.
absolutely. Yes. Spot on. That's so spot on.
Yo, okay. Oh, Carol said, I still remember when I was a rebellious teen and my dad told me to my face he gave up on me.
Ooh,
Even though I pushed him to the edge, it hurt.
yeah, that definitely can hurt.
I
You
want
know,
to
your
ask, like,
parents should have gave up on you.
is that something that had effects on you throughout the rest of your life and your adulthood? Was that something that you had to go back and deal with to get to where you are? Because if so, that's what we should be doing. But I'd like
Mhm.
for other people to give their opinions as well, and let's do a springboard of that. We can keep this chat going, and people
Yeah,
can continue to comment their own experiences with doing
yeah,
inner child work.
yeah, definitely. That would be awesome. So I want to get into unresolved trauma can manifest in various ways, such as heightened anxiety, hypervigilance, avoidance, or difficulty trusting others. It can also impact self-esteem, self-worth, and overall well-being. Oh my God, yes.
I want to touch on that after you get into everything, because that's a big one right
That,
there.
oh
So
my
I'll let you
God,
go
yes,
because
that
yeah,
is a big one. But I want to touch on some ways because I know we're talking a lot about, child inner child healing. I want to talk about some ways that we can begin to heal our inner child. And
yes.
for me, I think the biggest way to like start inner child work is to acknowledge it, acknowledge that you have some type of trauma or unresolved, need that was in childhood,
Mhm.
and just acknowledging it and sitting with it and feeling it, the fact that it's there. And also, this was a hard one for me, but talking to your parents about it.
Mm.
Yeah, like telling them your experience and what you felt throughout childhood. And
Can
it
I
can be,
share a story with you when you're done?
yeah, for sure.
Uh,
And that part for me was hard because, for one, in childhood, I was always taught to, not disrespect adults or elders. So you
That's a
can't
Black
really,
culture thing.
yeah, you can't
Mhm.
speak your mind or whatever you have to
Don't speak
say.
unless you're spoken to.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And because I said so is the answer for everything. So for me, having to like talk to my parents about it, it was not easy. And I can honestly say, like, there's still things that I want to talk to them about. Um, but when I talked to my dad about it first, like when I first started like telling him like how I feel,
Hmm.
it started a huge argument.
Oh,
Like,
I was
yeah,
just about to ask, did you get pushback and projection? But that answered my
yeah,
question.
I did. I got a lot of
Wow.
pushback and projection, and so yeah, it can be hard, it can be challenging, and I know, there's a lot of people out there that probably have had the same experience and felt like, it's going to be challenging to talk to their parents about it, especially if they told you, you're not supposed to ask questions and
Hmm. Hmm.
figure out why for anything. It can be challenging, but I think that's one of the most important steps to healing your inner child is you have to tell them because you have to get it. You have to release that.
Yeah,
Like,
because it didn't start with you. It came from
yeah,
them. You're just giving it back in a respectful way.
yeah,
Yeah, yep,
yeah.
yep,
I feel like you have to release that. You have to tell them how you feel, and like I didn't even try to do it in no disrespectful way. I'm just
right,
trying to share my experience, and this is my experience of my childhood. And it's not that I blame them for anything because they have
right.
trauma. You know, they have trauma too.
That part right there, I want to highlight because it's
Yeah,
not about downing our parents or
yeah,
making them feel like they did anything wrong or they were
yeah.
bad parents. Because I
Mhm.
know you had a good upbringing. I know that I did.
Yeah,
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that we still had to deal with certain things and we're trying to let go of them. And
yeah.
so, like, it's about the fact that there is no disrespect. We're not coming at you. We're just saying that we're at a different point than
Exactly.
where you were.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I feel like their generation they don't understand. I don't know. It's just something different about that
I think,
generation.
well,
I don't know.
but I see why, because our generation is so set on, like, especially for us Black people, like getting in touch with African spirituality and getting in touch with
Yeah,
nature, and healing ourselves when they really
yeah.
weren't. That's not something that,
Mm,
you know what I mean? So, like, especially during the war on drugs in the 80s and the crack epidemic
um,
and stuff like that, the breakups of homes really contributed to that. Like, in a historical aspect, I can understand why that is, you know?
right.
I think it's one of those things where, the meme that comes up, we are not our ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that we're just not taking no more. And I think that's part of it. I want to tell you a story real quick because, like, for
Yeah.
me, when I first started trying to talk to my mom, I was really uh, not really doing any kind of healing work. I didn't know about inner child work. I wasn't set on that path. I just knew there were things
Yeah.
I was feeling that I needed to express. But the way
Right.
that I expressed them was not from a place of harmony in any way. So,
Mm,
why would someone welcome that? Like, so my mom
right.
did get defensive, you know?
Yeah.
Um, However, we both had years of, not like we completely disconnected, but we just didn't speak for a while much.
Okay.
She went her way and went on a intensive path of healing. I
Okay.
had to go on a path of growth, strife, and then healing to get to the point where I'm at. And this past summer, she moved to Durham, North Carolina, and
Okay.
she moved about 10 years ago. So I never went down there. I wasn't ready.
Mhm.
Everyone kept telling me, you need to go see your mom. I see
Yeah.
her when she comes up here. I'll see her when I'm ready. When my spirit tells me it's time to go there, I
Yeah.
will. And this past spring, part of the self-love video that we did was shot on the way.
Oh
Yeah, it was in Baltimore. Yeah, it's from
yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's dope.
Um, I had a lot of stuff, and we had, like, slowly been talking about it through texts and things, like
Okay.
things that I had went through and understanding
Hmm.
where they actually came from, because it's no secret that I was a sex worker for many years, and I think that that comes
Hmm.
from a place of, in part, from being molested and raped at times in my life, especially as a child.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I wasn't sure if she had knew
Right.
that I was molested and raped.
Hmm.
Uh, so there were different things I had hinted at, and we got into really in-depth conversation for a while. But
Yeah.
when I went down there to see her, um, we were getting ready to go. She was getting ready to go to bed, and I was recording music or something, and
Yeah.
we were, like, talking in the kitchen, and it just kind of came out, and we just started having these, just talking back and forth about different things, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, every family has secrets. One of the secrets of my
Hmm.
family was that, like, my uncle is not the biological son of my pop.
Mm.
And I knew that from the time I was 13. My uncle
Okay.
told me,
Yeah.
Grandpa's not my dad. I assumed that everyone else knew that, but I kept it to myself because I thought
Yeah.
everyone just knew. It just
Yeah.
wasn't something we should talk about. My mom didn't know until my pop passed away. And it
Mm.
was through uh, 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 my uncle had said it in conversation at the funeral, and it wasn't
Mm.
a kind way of saying it. But she found
Yeah.
out, oh, he's not my, well, he's my brother, but, like, you get what I'm saying.
Right.
My
Right.
pop raised him, so that's still his son. But it kind of sparked off of that. Every family has secrets, so we just kind of just, like, shooting shit back and forth. And, I stressed to her, you were an amazing mother, and
Right.
I don't regret how you brought me up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to, this is not your burden. This is not something that I'm putting at you. I need
Mm-hmm.
to let go of this, and I need to tell you about this. And
Mm-hmm.
I told her, and we talked back and forth, and she kind of in her way, because we're a different generation. We just boom, this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
Their generation, a lot of them won't necessarily talk about what they went through, but my mom,
Yeah.
she did in a roundabout way. She didn't specifically, explicitly say what happened to her, but she let me
Mm-hmm.
know, hey, certain things happened to me. I can relate in certain ways, not
Mm-hmm.
exactly the way that you went through, but I had things in my own life too. But the way that I dealt with it was to not talk about it.
Yeah.
I dealt with it with God. Um, and then
Mm.
she also talked about how her mother, my grandmom, also dealt with a lot of the same things. It
Right.
trickled down, like you talked
Yeah.
about, in the genes, And when you
Yeah.
said that, like in the womb and in the grandchild, like that really resonated with me because that's immediately what I thought of. Also, why I wanted to bring up that story.
Yeah.
But we she was supposed to go to bed, but then she came back out into the garage. She's like, I just want to tell you, I understand that this isn't my fault, but
Right.
I am still sorry that it happened to you. And I want you to
Mm-hmm.
know that I love you and you can let that go.
Oh,
That
that's
was what I
beautiful.
that was what I needed to hear, even though that wasn't
Yeah.
my aim of why I was doing it. I just needed
Mm-hmm.
to let it go. I don't care how you take it. So
Yeah.
for me, even though I didn't get that pushback this time, the way that I was trying to approach her years before
Yeah.
didn't work. So
Right.
even though you didn't necessarily initially get the result that you had hoped for,
Mm-hmm.
you did what you needed to do for yourself, and how
Right.
they take it is up to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've started like having conversations with my mom about stuff because like my mom is like she don't take no shit. She's a Leo, and she
Mm-hmm.
always just been like stern, kind of like to the point. She doesn't take shit. But in my childhood, like I felt like I didn't really connect with her because she was always so like hard on me, just
Mm-hmm.
straight to the point, straight to the book. I don't feel like we had like that mother daughter relationship, where we would like do things together. And yeah, she was always there for me, make sure I had everything that I needed. And then um, when her and my dad divorced, I felt like I was alone a lot because she was working, to make sure to take care of everything. So I was at my house like by myself a lot. After school, having to make my own meals, pretty much do everything on my own. And I started talking to her, and figuring out why is she the way that she is. And she told me, she grew up seeing my grandmother, her mom, getting like physically abused in front of her. And my mom's the oldest. She has a brother and a sister. My mom's the oldest. So she took on a lot of that burden of taking care of her younger siblings, then seeing
Mm-hmm.
her mom get physically abused. And she just had like built up so much anxiety. And like, she always just, from then seeing that, she always just told herself, like, I'm not taking no shit from nobody because, she's seen my grandmother deal with that for years. So hearing that story made me, have more compassion for her. Just really understanding, like, okay, so this is, she went through some stuff too. So I can't
That's
just
what makes them
blame
them.
her. Yeah, I can't just blame her for not being there for the way that I needed her, but she never even really healed from things in her childhood. So yeah, it really gets deep.
What It's important. That's why I wrote that song Wrinkles. It's important to see what has made a person who they are, because then
Hmm.
no, there's no fault. It's just what it
Hmm.
is.
Yeah.
And like I've really, and people take heed to this because I don't mean any ill will, but what happens to you in your life is your responsibility.
Yeah.
It's your life. It's nobody else's life. So what has
Hmm.
happened to you, you don't play victim. You don't
Yeah.
blame others. You
Yeah.
make sense of what has happened and the part that others have played in your life
Yeah.
to help you be in a situation that you're in, but
Hmm.
don't place blame. Seek to transmute
Hmm.
that energy and understand why it happened, what lessons you needed to learn from it, and move on.
Right. Exactly. I think that's so important. Yeah. You can't place blame on nobody.
Mhm.
Because everybody's been through some shit.
Talk about it.
Mhm. Everybody's
Um,
been through some shit.
we got some comments.
Oh yeah,
Yo, love it.
excited.
uh, we said this. Yeah, unresolved
Oh
trauma can
yeah,
manifest in
yeah,
various ways. Generational trauma is a big thing, and that's part of what we're like circling around here.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, no problem, bro. Just let me know when you're able to hop on, and we will let you spit. Inner child, we could talk about for days.
Right.
Um, Carol said, I can't imagine the conflict a black child feels when being angry when a racist hurts them, but being taught how they should react to stay safe.
Mm.
Hmm. I didn't recognize how much it hurt me until I started working on myself. I
Right.
think that's I think that's really important because
Yes. Oh my God.
at least for me, that's what happened. I didn't recognize how much it hurt me until I actively started doing that work and trying to
Yeah.
make
Right.
sense of it.
Right. Exactly. For sure.
Um, Chaz is speaking to the movement for Black Lives and like the journalism and the activism
Oh
that we
yeah.
do. Um, it's something that I noticed early, and I think it's part of what sent me deeper into my spiritual path was
Hmm.
being traumatized so much by so many things in 2020.
Oh my God. No.
I went through a lot of things that a lot of people would not be able to handle. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, they would not be able to handle it. I went through some shit. I
Hmm.
seen some shit that people should
Hmm.
not see. And it
Hmm.
affected me deeply, deeply. What I noticed was I started to find and have tools to help me with that. But because
Hmm.
of that, I was noticing other people that did not have the tools, did not want the tools. They were just walking around hurt. So they were hurting people in this movement,
Yeah.
which deals with nothing but hurt people that are trying to heal collectively.
Right.
You
Right.
know, we're
Exactly.
demanding more rights for ourselves, and we're
Hmm.
trying to hold people accountable for police involved shootings and things that require that entails a lot of energy that essentially needs to be transmuted. And so I think that's part of the inspiration for like my poetry and being circumstantial saint is finding another way to connect or tell these people that hey, you should probably heal, you know.
Right.
There's some healing to do.
Yeah, for sure. That goes back to trust and understanding as well.
Tell me like for as far as like relationships and marriages
Hmm.
go, like how important that is.
How important what exactly?
Trust and understanding as it pertains to healing yourself and your inner
Hmm.
child, but also understanding how that trust and understanding while you're doing that inner child work is going to affect your relationship, whether positive or negative.
Yeah, I feel like it's so important because you have to understand that your partner went through stuff too, and things that might be triggering them, or you might think they're reacting a certain way because they just don't fuck with you, or they're just trying to be mean, or whatever. But you have to understand they went through some shit, and you could be triggering them in some kind of way, or like, yeah, you definitely have to have that understanding and just giving your partner space to heal and space to grow. I think it's so important and not like trying to cling on to them when they're like trying to heal and grow and not let them. You know what I mean? So
I
yeah, I think
completely
the
know what you mean.
understanding is so important.
Especially in relationships, it's an act of selflessness and
Yeah,
also um, seeing yourself in that other person because you are a unit and you're one, and that couldn't
yeah.
be more important.
Hmm.
I felt that.
Right. Yes, and my parents are young, so I couldn't have those conversations. That's so sad. I'm sorry.
I think nonetheless, uh, for me, it had became healing for me to have these epiphanies and conversations and moments of growth while having internal conversations with myself about my
Hmm.
childhood and like issues with my mom and stuff
Yeah.
that I got to a point where I felt like if we didn't have certain conversations, I would be all right. Like I was
Mhm.
fine. I was still doing the work for myself and dropping little hints. So I was cool. I had the added bonus of having the conversations I wanted to with my mother. However, I feel that as long as you're doing the work within yourself and making sense of like and picturing like why they were the way they were and
Mhm.
how it shaped your life, that's all that matters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that. I know when my son has talked to me about some
Mm,
things I did that hurt him, my first reaction was defensive because I never meant to hurt him. Yeah, I could feel that. Then I had to step back and acknowledge how he felt. Impact is greater than intent. Now we are better than ever. Yeah, I can definitely feel that. Because
the
sometimes you
phrase,
don't even really know, like, that it's hurting them.
right.
You know? I feel that.
The part where she said impact is greater than intent. I'm not
Mm,
intending to hurt you or make
yeah.
you feel any bad vibes from
Hmm.
how I was affected,
Yeah,
but the impacts of how it affected me matter.
it does.
It's not, I'm not projecting it at you, but if we want to be better and have
Hmm.
better communication or whatever, I feel like expressing the impact and the intent
Yeah.
is very beneficial. So I really dig that and appreciate that, Carol.
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Oh my God, all these comments. I love this. You want to read this one off?
Sure. Childhood trauma can shape one's beliefs, emotions, and behaviors, often leading to difficulties in managing stress, regulating emotions, and forming healthy relationships. Oh my God, yes. Yes.
I couldn't agree with that more too.
Yes. Oh my God. Do you want to read this one?
Inner child refers to the emotional and psychological aspects of our childhood experiences that continue to influence us in adulthood. It represents the childlike qualities and
Mm,
vulnerabilities that we were talking about that
yeah,
reside within us, regardless of our chronological age. Our inner
absolutely.
child
Yes.
holds our early memories, beliefs, and emotions, which
Mhm.
shape our thoughts, behaviors, and relationships. And I couldn't agree with that more.
One. Yeah, that's so true. And like, oh my God, that's so true.
I'm loving this episode right now, and I
I
hope
love
that people pick it up
it.
when we put it down.
Yes, me too. Like, I love that comment that he just said. Can you pull that one back up?
Yes, yes, without a
So
doubt.
I want to dive into that a little bit, where it says it represents the childlike qualities and vulnerabilities that reside within us, regardless of our chronological age. I feel like that is so important because, yes, a lot of those early, memories and beliefs and emotions really do shape our behaviors and our thoughts, and it stays with us forever. No matter if we're 30 years old, 40 years old, we will still remember those first memories, and it just shapes the way that we react to everything.
That part, it shapes the
Yeah,
way that we react. And
yeah.
when you're not doing that healing or work, the way that
Hmm.
you react can be problematic
For
and it can
sure.
spark another reaction in others. But all we may see if we're in that position is the way others are reacting to us. We're
Yeah.
not seeing the way we are reacting to them.
Hmm.
And that's important too.
I
You
know.
spoke
Yeah.
about like the perpetual like childlike feeling,
Yeah.
because if you're doing that inner child work and too much and you're not taking a break from it,
Hmm.
you're going to like that inner child in you is going to show through,
Oh
and
my
you're going to
God.
take on that role a little more than you should be, you know.
Yeah. I can relate to that so much because I've been noticing that I have fear of abandonment. And I was like, where
Mhm.
does this feeling come from? Like, I don't understand why I have that feeling that people are always just going to up and leave me. And then I realized that it's from my parents getting divorced. Yeah. And I have this fear that, like, well, because my parents got divorced when I was 10. And I
Mm.
was so used to, I grew up my both parents in my home up until I was 10, and I just, it really affected me. Like, I remember being like embarrassed to literally tell my friends that my parents got divorced because I thought, everybody's parents were supposed to be together, and like none of my other friends' parents were divorced at that time. So it affected me so much. And then my dad, like, I felt like he got in another relationship so quickly. Like, to me, it seemed quick. I don't know how fast it was actually. Like, if I just put that in my mind, I don't know.
Hmm.
But it felt like super quick. So I felt like he kind of just like left us and made this whole another family. So I noticed that I have like fear of abandonment from that, and
That makes sense.
yeah, and it comes out in my marriage a lot. Like, I'm always like, what's the word? Maybe sometimes too clingy or like worrying too much.
Mhm.
And yeah, I had to really sit with myself and figure that out. Like,
I
why
can
am I doing this?
definitely I
Yeah.
could definitely relate to that very much so. Like my parents were my whole life, my parents were not together.
Mhm.
So my mother and my father, my mother was 17, my father was 18 when I was
Mhm.
conceived.
Mm.
And my father had cheated on my mother right when I was conceived, so she broke up with him.
Yeah.
And I never really had an actual father figure in my life. My pop and my uncles were basically that for me.
Yeah.
Uh, so I definitely can relate to the abandonment feeling, and then
Mhm.
also people pleasing and
Yeah.
codependency, clinginess.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Um, I got to a point though of being bitter about the abandonment and like pushing people away or not letting people get too close to me because I'm scared of them
Scared.
abandoning me
Yeah.
and like, okay,
Yeah.
you're just gonna leave anyway. Once you see like the kind of person I am, which I'm not a bad person,
Mhm.
but I held myself super critical because I thought that I wasn't as worthy as other people.
Yeah.
Um, so I that really resonates with me big time.
Yeah. And it
Um,
wasn't until just recently that, excuse me, I really started to work on that fear of abandonment. 'Cause my husband and I were like apart from each other for like 20 days. And I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, I was freaking out at first because I'm so used to that. Like, I guess it is kind of
mhm,
codependency. So
mhm,
I really had to, in those days, I really had to sit with myself, and I would like, write out every day like how I was feeling and like why am I feeling this way. And so yeah, it was a lot, and just realizing, okay, this is where it comes from because I didn't really understand. And it goes back to those childlike qualities because I feel like when I'm feeling like codependent, I feel like little me, like being scared, that
exactly.
I'm left alone. So
Well, yeah,
yeah.
it's a symptom or extension of your
Mhm.
childhood. So you could picture like this little kid on the ground,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
imagine as the kid gets older, right? So you have balloons and you want to attach your strings to them. And each
Mhm.
new year is a balloon that gets put up into the air. So by the
Mhm.
time you're 32, 33, 34, you've got all these balloons up in the air. Those are the
Mhm.
manifestations of the trauma, triggers, things that happen
Yeah.
to you in your childhood that are manifesting
Yeah.
and are up in the sky. Bring them down and compare them to the core.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love. Yeah, that's just me. But Susie had a question, and I think it's a really good question.
Okay.
I work at a library with lots of children of all races. Can I get an insight on how to reach the children with hope?
What do you like? What do you mean reach them exactly?
I think, a lot of these kids today are brought up without any understanding of the traumas that they're having, and their
Mm.
parents don't necessarily understand it, and it's just a perpetual thing. But a lot of us today have the understanding of this work and how important it is. So,
Mhm.
like, when someone does have that understanding and they're presented
Mhm.
with kids that they can see
Mm.
exhibiting the issues, like, how can we get through to them that there's another way, there's healing that you can do, and that
Yeah.
this energy doesn't belong with you unless you're transmuting it and turning it into something positive and putting that back out into the world. um
Gotcha. I would say like teaching kids how to be. Emotional intelligence. To have emotional intelligence, I think that is like
Mm.
super important. And teaching them to journal and to express themselves if they're feeling like a type of way. And I do that with my own kids. Like I always tell them, if there's something that I did that hurt your feelings or something, let me know and we can talk about it. Or if I feel that I did something wrong or like yelled at them, I will apologize or I'll explain to them why I'm doing this, or I don't just leave it at, oh, because I said so. You know?
Right. That's really important because they soak
Mhm.
up it all. And all you got
Yeah.
to do is say that, usually that thing one time, and it sticks. And it leaves a
Mm.
big impression on them, and I think in a wonderfully positive way. And I was just about to bring this up. Carol said poetry workshops are great for getting kids to express themselves.
Oh, yes. Yes,
I
yes,
couldn't agree
yes.
with that more.
And
Why did my
journaling,
screen
like,
freeze?
I'm just thinking, like, to teach kids, like, journal and write about how you're feeling and talk about how you're feeling because it's so important. I know as a kid, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh.
My
I
screen
know,
froze for some reason. I was like, what the heck?
I know as a kid, like I would journal a lot because I was just like always like a writer. I love
Me
writing.
too.
I would
Me too.
journal a lot, and that helped me because I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone. So I think teaching kids to journal out their feelings or find an adult or someone that they feel safe with talking to about their feelings is so important.
I was the same way, fam.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you can't even imagine how many composition books I like,
Yes.
shelves of it, journaling
Yes.
everything. Cause I got
Mm-hmm.
bullied and picked on so bad by everybody,
Yeah.
my family, people
Mm-hmm.
at school. I didn't really have friends. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any friends until I got to like high school. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so for me, I had my journal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Same.
I only have a couple of hours with them a day. This is helpful. I'm an older white woman with and work with a lot of kids of color, so I'm trying to learn. Hey, Susie, we are here to give you any help and pointers that you like. You can always reach out to us, Circumstantial
Yeah.
Saint and Divine Marie. Uh, and that's something I do want to talk to you about later on, is maybe doing some kind of workshop with kids
That would be
in the
dope.
future.
I love that
Yeah, like a
idea.
poetry workshop. I think that's
Yeah.
really important, and the more the merrier.
Exactly. I think, yeah, like just being showing the kids that you're there for them, that you have an open ear and just trying to I know she said she's an older white woman, she works with kids of a lot of different race, so they might not always feel as comfortable talking to you, just to be honest.
Mhm.
Um, but just showing them that you're open and that you're there and have an open ear. It takes time to build the relationship, but yeah.
I completely agree with that, and I think the basic, like the first way in is just being open and transparent
Yeah,
and
exactly.
vulnerable yourself, because you're the
Right.
person of authority, you're the adult. If you're
Right.
vulnerable with them, regardless of
Mhm.
race, you have a better chance of them being vulnerable with you.
Right.
If you leave
Yes.
things in open book, like, hey, y'all can let y'all feelings out here. This is a keyword
Safe.
safe space. I love
Yeah.
you.
Exactly. Yeah. Just letting them know that you're there.
Hmm.
I think
That's
that's
the,
so important.
that's as long as, in when we talk about intent and impact,
Mhm.
your intention is pure, but your impact is what your intent really is. That you want to make a positive impact on these kids' lives, and
Yeah.
if you're making that known, I think that they'll pick up what you're putting down. So
Sure.
just be vulnerable. Of course, anytime. This is part of what we're here for, is like to share this stuff and have these valuable lessons being shared with one another, right?
Yes, exactly. I love this.
I'm really excited for like how this show will grow,
Me
um,
too.
because I really enjoy this, and you're someone that I like. We have so many. We just get each other, and we have like a lot
Right.
of similarities that it
Yeah.
just fits.
I
Just to let
know.
people, we are going to start podcast format for this very soon, so stay tuned for that.
Yes,
Y'all
please
can check us
do.
on. We're on Facebook. YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch right now streaming. So share with your friends, follow and subscribe. Every other Wednesday, we are going to be doing this, just by the way, so y'all know. Typically will be 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight, we just need to do a little later. And
But
you know,
actually, let's ask the viewers, what time works best for y'all? Because
you
I
took the
want
words out my mouth.
to make sure, you know, we're getting a good time for everybody. So
Yes,
do y'all like the later, you know, the later time? Do y'all like during the day? Do y'all like what y'all like? Yeah, let us know.
Let me get a hold of Chaz and
Okay.
see if he is ready. But in the meantime, we could take a break really quick.
Okay, sounds good.
Bet. All right, y'all. We'll be right back.
Oh, indica. We can smoke indica. Call up my link name Indy. We can smoke indica. We can smoke indica. We can smoke indica. Call up my link name Indy.
Just went back to the word circumstantial.
Know you're alive. That's enough for me.
Circumstantial. I speak to heal, reflect, hold back. Inhale, inhale, exhale, exhale, exhale,
Just
exhale,
breathe,
breathe,
believe,
breathe,
be free,
breathe. Inside, heart, align, breathe. Inside, inside.
What are you listening to?
You gotta hear this one song. It'll change your life, I swear.
Rays beyond the window pane. Maybe I can no longer live in this life. It's too shady. I have to go where the positive energy lies, so that we may live a healthy, long life for you and I.
Energy.
Energy.
It's good. I like it.
Guide yourself and troop to the next galaxy in 7 seas and burn, ice, cold, no breathe, medicate, breathe, IV, medicate, congratulate the freedom state and conquer the community and dilate the camaraderie, heighten the mentality, the figure you come smoke screen and never ending need, purify your seed, cause heaven is here and human soul is in need.
We are back. Hope you stayed with us.
Hey
If you did
y'all.
not, well, I hope you come back. Y'all already know this is Divine Circumstances with myself and Divine Marie.
Yes, yes, yes.
Open mic and commentary session. And this evening we have been talking about inner child healing and work, which is, I think, part of your life's line. And whether you're consciously taking part in it or not, I think that like it's gonna affect you either way. So you might as well
Right.
actively do it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm gonna let you go first because I know you had a list of because I have 8 ways to start healing your inner child. So I want you to
Oh,
start first. Yeah.
okay. Well, I know we touched on there a little bit. So we talked about some ways to heal your inner child, and I was saying I think the most important way to start is talking with your parents about it and just
Hmm.
letting them know that this is my experience and this is what affected me, and not saying that you're a bad parent, but just getting your feelings out there because you have to release that.
Hmm.
Another way to really help heal your inner child is to meditate and just visualize your inner child. And I always like visualize my inner child and visualize giving my inner child like a hug.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody else does that, but I've seen something like that before, like to visualize that you're sitting there with your inner child and you
I'm gonna
just
start.
give them a big hug. Yeah. So hug your inner child when you're feeling like some of those triggers come up and some of those emotional wounds. Just try to sit there and visualize and give them that hug. And I think another way for me, and for those people that have kids, to help heal your inner child is to allow yourself to play. Um, and I touched on that in my poem. Like every time I play with my kids, my heart sings. Like
Yes.
just allowing yourself to play and just have that childlike feeling again. Um, because yeah, like I said, I don't have any core memories of my parents playing with me. So I don't know if it never happened or if it just like happened and then like stopped at a certain age. But I don't want to just stop that with my kids. Like
Hmm.
even when they're like 10, I want to still play with them and find things to do with them that they enjoy. Because I can remember like after like maybe like 8 years old or something, I don't have like many memories of doing things with my parents. Like it's bad as it sounds, like maybe like running errands with them and stuff like that. But I don't have any of those core memories of us just like playing together or spending that time, you know? So
I
yeah.
can relate. Like we did things and went
Hmm.
places,
Right.
but like she never really, it wasn't really an I love you or any
Hmm.
kind of like affection.
Yeah.
Um, Especially like physical. I didn't get hugs like that unless it was
Me
like some kind of
neither.
like really big thing. Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm
Same.
breathing, but but also like I don't remember my mom playing with me either. I
Mm,
just always remember playing alone.
me
I was always
too.
alone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
definitely a loner. And I think that plays a big part into like the abandonment issues or
Yeah.
like having a fear of always being alone. Like
Alone.
I
Yes.
don't have a significant other, I don't have kids.
Hmm.
So that is something that's like healing that I have to personally do, and I know that, and I'm actively
Yeah.
working through that to not just bring anyone in my circle that I think is going to provide me with that company, because not
Yeah.
everyone has the right intentions, or do they want to make an
Hmm.
actual impact in your life.
Hmm.
That definitely resonated with me for real, because
Yeah.
it's something that I have struggled with for sure.
Mhm.
However, I also very, very, very much value now
Mhm.
my alone time and my
Right. Oh
solitude
my God.
because
Same.
I respect myself enough to not put just any
Mhm.
old person in my space,
Right.
you
Any
know?
type of energy. Yup.
And a lot of people will keep themselves around someone because they think like a matter of survival, or they need them, or
Mm.
you have nowhere else to go, or codependency things. And it's like, you know what? When you take care of yourself and love and respect yourself,
Mhm.
then you can have more of a productive, healthy relationship with that other person. But
Exactly. Yeah.
if that person isn't doing that, that's a whole nother story. But I'm talking about you specific, not you, but you know, the person that we're talking to here.
Right.
Like, if you're not doing that internal work, how can you expect like your fears or reservations about yourself and life
Mhm.
to grow or go away or um change for the better if
Mhm.
you're not being cognizant of the way that you're reacting to things in your relationship? And that's not even just specifically speaking of romantic relationships with
Yeah.
significant others,
Mhm.
friendships and family
Yeah.
and coworkers,
Yeah.
peers, all of that. We're talking about all of that.
All of it. Exactly. It affects all relationships. There's no, not just romantic relationship. Yeah, it really affects all relationships.
And I think the way that we also handle and look at relationships is big importance too. It's not
Mhm.
just like uh well, yeah, it is. It's analyzing, but you also want to hold things at face value too.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to spend so much time on something, analyzing it to where not only it drains you, but you're kind of swirling around in circles and not knowing what to make of it. So, going back to what you said about taking those breaks, is
Mhm.
why it's important, because you might be stuck playing on the playground. Ain't nobody there no more.
Right. For
You just sitting there
sure.
with your inner child. What
Yeah.
y'all there for? Get
Mhm.
off that swing and go to the slide.
Right. I feel that.
I don't know what Chaz is doing,
Okay.
the Urban Conservative, which is cool. The Urban Conservative, you're welcome to jump on the next one that we're doing
Yeah.
in 2 weeks. So again, we do it every other Wednesday,
Right.
and like we said, we're gonna figure out what time works for y'all, because
Did
that I
anybody
like that.
comment about that? Did
Hmm?
anybody comment about the times?
Carol said that she would prefer later.
Later. Okay.
And I think later is great too,
Yeah.
because we do have viewers from other time zones that are because we're East Coast, so they come after us. So
Yeah.
for them, like, I know we're 9:42 here, Central Time, like Minnesota is 8:42, Mountain
Okay.
is 7:42, West Coast is 6:42.
Right.
And I do have some West Coast people, some Midwest people, some Southern
Okay.
people that do watch that I know will tune in. What would be great is I'm going to start reaching out to some of my friends across the pond. I have
Okay.
some friends in Africa and Europe that really
Ooh.
do support what we do. And so I will be connecting with them to make sure that they're sharing it in those areas as well,
Yo,
especially this
that's
one.
awesome. Yeah, this is a
Yes.
great one.
Because there are people that are on the same kind of like journeys and paths that we are. They very well understand
Mhm.
the scope of like us as Americans in doing this work. And I
Mhm.
feel like they're probably a little further ahead than we are. So it might
Mhm.
help to connect, you know.
Yeah.
That's something I'm going to be looking into, and I'll get back to you about that.
Okay, dope.
Um,
Yeah.
all
Oh,
right.
and I wanted to say for
Mhm.
next week, or not next week, for the following week. So it will be August the 23rd. That will be our next one. Um, that the theme should be duality. What do you think? Because I know
Got me
you
excited like
love
a little
that.
boy.
I know you love that. I know you love it. And I was just thinking about it when I was taking a shower, actually. I was like, so, inner child healing, I was thinking, like, what would be a good topic to come after that? And duality came to mind because there's no dark without lightness and vice versa.
And they're two parts to a whole, so you look at them with equal value.
Right.
Because if you're valuing the good, you're deflecting the bad, and the bad is going to mount up. And then you're going to have
Exactly.
a massive breakdown. So false
Mm-hmm.
positivity does not work. Spirituality work is about embracing that darkness because it makes up who
Mm-hmm.
you are too. And if it
Yeah.
needs to be transmuted, it needs to be transmuted. If it's a part of
Mm-hmm.
who you are, keep that part of who you are because it may not be a bad thing.
That
It's just a part of
right.
who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely am down for that one. I cannot wait.
Yes.
Yes. For those who don't know, circumstantial saint, that's what I that's initially what my artistry touches on and is about is duality,
Mm-hmm.
circumstantial saint. And I think a lot of people don't really think about that in its
Right.
entirety.
Right.
Um, and that's why I try to say sainthood is circumstantial. We
Mm-hmm.
all can be a saint, sure,
Mm-hmm.
but that those terms are circumstantial.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to touch on are there other ways that you feel that can help someone to manifest their sparking their path to healing and inner child work or shadow work as it's called as well?
Shadow work, yeah. I actually got this shadow work book that I started, and it gives so many like tips that you can do. And one was also to write a letter to your younger self. Yeah, so like
I
write a
like
letter
that.
to your younger self, and anything that may have hurt you, or anything that you wish you could have said to your younger self to help you, now in the future. Just writing that letter to your younger self and kind of reflecting on that.
I love that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah,
Hell
I
yeah.
think that's a good idea.
Uh,
And lastly, I would say like mirror work. So mirror work, like looking at yourself in the mirror and actually asking yourself, like, who am I? And repeating your name.
ah.
Mhm.
See, when I do mirror work, I speak to myself through my mind, but I'm
Mhm.
going to because I know how powerful when you're manifesting energy through your throat chakra, the
Yes.
vibrations of what you're saying
Wow.
also
That is
help
yes.
the energy. Yes. So that is
Mhm.
one thing that I tend to forget. And thank you for that tidbit because I'm going
You're
to start
welcome.
speaking to myself in the mirror as well.
Yeah. Yes,
I always have
definitely.
had a struggle with that.
So
Even with poetry, like, yeah, speaking in front of people is one thing, and that takes a lot of work for me to do to build up
yeah.
to. But like doing lives and performances can be scary for me and tricky
Yeah.
until I get into it because that initial moment um, is scary for me to talk in front of people or to talk to myself and
Mhm.
see myself like I am right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
same. It's
but I'm
awkward.
we're doing the work.
We're
We're doing the
pushing
work.
through, yes. We're pushing through. You gotta do the uncomfortable sometimes.
Yes. And
Hmm.
it gets easier, but it doesn't because each
Yeah,
time you're doing something different, right?
right.
Um, but you get used to knowing that it's something you're gonna have to push through anyway, and that you know that you're
Hmm.
gonna benefit from it.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Chaz. It's all good.
Oh,
Chaz, I love you, the urban conservative. Um, the urban conservative and I have like collaborated a lot with a lot
yeah.
of different music. We have a song out currently called Try That in the Hood, a response to the Try That in a Small Town song, except
Okay.
we chose to combat hate with love. So that track may talk about what may happen to Black people or misunderstanding what BLM meant,
Hmm.
but for us, it's like we don't want revenge for the things that was done to us in slavery, in the enslavement
Hmm.
and transatlantic slave trade. We
Hmm.
want to transmute that energy because our people need help. And we
Hmm.
want you to see that your people can help us and we are all the same race. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So like,
I love
we
that.
don't we just want equity and all of us to be one. And I think that brings me back to another point is the duality part of it. If there's hate, even if there's self-hate, you combat that with love or self-love.
Hmm.
If you're hard on yourself, like you said, and I say too, give grace and be kind to yourself.
Yeah,
You know, it's important.
it is. It's very important. Give
I know I
yourself
be talking a lot.
no, you're good. Give yourself grace. I love that.
I mean, we can wrap up in a little bit, but I do want
Yeah.
to touch on a couple things that I found.
Okay.
Um, Briefly set aside the existence of your inner child and just think of a few key childhood experiences. While some were probably positive, others may have
Mhm.
hurt or upset you.
Right.
Perhaps you still carry the emotional pain from those events today.
Yeah.
This article that I'm reading is via healthline.com. I'm going
Okay.
to put it in the comments so that people can check it out. And then the other
Yeah.
one, I have Wikipedia uh, page that I can share with y'all because I think just finding the actual definition can really help because a lot of people still can misinterpret. Like when they hear inner child or hear shadow work, it's become a buzzword, yes, but a lot of
Yeah.
people still dismiss it because they don't understand
Right. Like always.
it. Mhm. Um, okay. Listen to what your inner child has to say. After opening the door to a connection with your inner child, it's important to listen to the feelings that enter. These feelings often come up in situations that trigger strong emotions, discomfort, or old wounds. You
Mhm.
might notice, this is a big one for me, and maybe you can relate, anger over unmet needs.
Mhm.
It's a big one. We
Yeah.
talked about this abandonment or rejection, insecurity,
Mm.
vulnerability,
Mhm.
guilt or shame, and I suffer from this a lot, anxiety.
Oh my God, me too.
I get such anxiety, especially when I pinpoint another node of like a point of when like where this came from and where this started. It's a breakthrough
Right.
and discovery. It gives me some sense of relief, to be honest,
Mhm.
but then it also makes me worried or anxious because
Anxious.
I know
Yeah.
it's something that I still have to work on in the present.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm not going to do it, but
Right.
you know, um, all right, so if you trace these feelings back to specific childhood events, you may realize similar situations in your adult life trigger the same responses. So, an example is
Mhm.
your partner suddenly becomes busy with work and doesn't have time for the big night out you planned, right? While you know they prefer to spend time with you, you still feel rejected and frustrated. Your disappointment manifests in a childlike way with you stomping off to your room and slamming the door.
Oh my God. It's so funny because like I feel like I've been there. Like,
Me too. Me too. I can't lie. Me too. Considering what happened through the eyes of your inner child can offer some valuable insight to this scenario. You realize your partner's sudden need to work made you feel just as you did when your parents canceled plans, play dates, even your birthday party because of their busy schedules. In
mm,
this way, listening to the feelings of your inner child and letting yourself experience them instead of pushing them away can help you
yeah,
identify and validate the stress you've experienced in an essential first step toward working through it.
yeah.
Wow.
I love that
Wow.
example.
The part of letting yourself experience them instead of pushing them away is a big thing because
Mm,
our initial reaction is to push it away.
yeah,
Um, I've learned that the more inner child work that you do, the easier it becomes to be cognizant of that and to
yeah.
welcome it anyway, even if you know it's like it's hard. It's going
Mhm.
to be hard, but you welcome it because you know that the breakthrough is going to be tremendous.
Right. So I have a question. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think? Okay, so you know how they gave that example of your partner becoming busy with work, but instead of stomping off like a, like a child, what would be when if you notice yourself feeling triggered by that? What do you think would be a healthy way to cope with that feeling in that moment?
I'm sorry, it cut out a little bit. Cope with what feeling?
Like that feeling of feeling like your partner is rejecting you because they have to work. instead of stomping
Mm-hmm.
off, what do you think we can do if we notice we're feeling triggered by that? What do you think would be a healthier way to go about it?
Yeah. So what I've learned in that, because it's something that I've pinpointed within the last few years with
Hmm.
myself, I have switched from, and no, I don't do it anymore. But
Hmm.
when I would have that kind of reaction, like over the years now, I I'll woosah, like just calmly take myself out of that situation. First of all,
Hmm.
I'll state I need time to ponder this and think about it so that I'm not disrespecting you or myself. I'm going
Hmm.
to go off for a little bit. Please respect my time and space that I need to soak this up and come back to you so that we can have a healing moment, a moment of conversing, so that we
Hmm.
can come to an understanding and I can let you know that I hear you. But right now, this ain't it because I'm gonna blow up and I don't
Yeah.
want that to happen. So I know that there's like still work to do as far as like handling it, but
Yeah.
at least understanding that you can't act that way and knowing that it comes from a certain place is the
Hmm.
start. So that's what I've learned to do is first and foremost, like take myself out of that situation because it
Hmm.
might not be beneficial to my energy or the other person's energy.
Hmm.
Um, Finding a way to calm down and ponder and think about another way to approach it so that we can both understand each other better.
Hmm. I've noticed what I do when I feel, because you know, my husband's an entrepreneur and he's always busy with work, and I used to notice that would trigger me, a lot. And there will be times that I definitely will act childlike about it. But I've noticed that what I'll do now is, yeah, I'll kind of like remove myself from the situation instead of like trying to just argue with him or say something. I'll just remove myself and then I'll usually like try to do something for myself in that moment when I'm
Yes.
feeling triggered. So maybe I'll take a walk or maybe I'll cook myself something, or maybe I'll paint my nails, something like that. So I notice doing something for myself in those moments when I'm feeling triggered definitely helps.
You talk about doing something for yourself and then you explain different activities and it's action the
Hmm.
action doing something having something to do while you're pondering that
Yeah,
previous moment is what gets you to go deeper into pondering that
right.
previous moment, you know
Hmm.
and
So
I
then
think that's
you
something that's
you
really
sit and
important.
think like, okay, why did this situation trigger me? Oh, okay, yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
yeah, instead of just reacting right away, I think taking that moment to remove yourself and do something for yourself, do some type of self care or whatever you got to do, and then reflecting and then maybe coming back to it and explaining to your partner, oh, this triggered me, and it's not your fault, but this triggered me because of this reason. You know what I mean?
I think the first thing that I do because I'm so worked up and anxious and passionate about things is I find
Hmm.
something that I can focus all of my attention on and carry
Hmm.
out that action, whether it's writing a poem, producing a
Hmm.
beat. Um,
Mm.
so it's something high intense focused. And
Yeah.
then I will go do something like take a walk or meditate
Hmm.
because then that gets me to focus back on the thinking and breaking down and analyzing things
Hmm.
when I'm already calm by that point to be able to think a
Yeah.
little clearer,
And
So
that's a
I think
great
those
way
have
to
been my
transmute
steps.
the energy. Is to
Yes.
putting something like your focus into something
Mhm.
creative, something, working out, writing a poem, baking something. I don't know,
Yes.
whatever you
Yes.
gotta do. But yeah, definitely.
I couldn't agree with that more. All
Hmm.
right, yo. Any plugs, any promotions, info you want to spit out to people?
Yes. Okay. So I am Divine Marie. Follow me on Instagram, Divine Marie underscore. I do have a couple songs out on Bandcamp. Well, I gotta get back into making music because
Yes, and I've been wanting to talk to you about that.
yeah, because I enjoy it and
Yes.
it's cool and it's fun and yeah. So you can check out my Bandcamp site, Bandcamp. I think it's slash. See, I don't even know slash Divine Maria, I believe, and I am also the CEO of the Blacklands Gallery. Follow us on Instagram, the Blacklands Gallery. Check out our website, www.theblacklandsgallery.com. I am also a vegan chef, and you can follow me on Instagram, Divine's Kitchen. And yeah, thank you all so much. This was an awesome episode, so I hope you all enjoyed it.
Yes, I hope y'all enjoyed it too. Divine Marie does a lot of things. She is a jack of all trades. So she does something likely that pertains to something you might need or do or want to connect with her on. So definitely follow her. I believe it's divinemarie.bandcamp.com for people that want to check her
Okay.
out. And Divine Marie, I think it's time for you to do a little EP.
I
So
know. I know.
yes, I'm down to do that and work with you
Yes.
on that because that would be phenomenal. But yeah, check out Divine Marie's music, y'all. And she's actually featured in a lot of music of mine as well. Like we
Yes, yes,
just
I am.
yes,
Yeah,
I love
like,
collaborating
I
with
should
you.
put those songs on my Bandcamp because I only have vibing on there. But I was thinking like putting like self love on there.
You certainly can.
Yeah. So I
Mhm.
need to do that. I need your
Yeah,
help.
I got you. I'll send you the cuts, like the master cuts and everything, and you could do your
Okay.
thing. Yeah,
All right,
without a doubt.
cool.
Mhm.
Cool, cool.
Bandcamp allows us to be we are independent artists. However, Bandcamp allows us to make money and connect with our fans a lot more. So definitely go ahead and support our Bandcamp if you'd like. And myself, again, I'm Circumstantial Saint. I am also on all social media platforms. I'm on all streaming service platforms. If you would like to listen to my music, I just released a new album almost 2 weeks ago called I Speak to Heal, which talks about a lot of what we just discussed today in a
Yeah.
number of different ways. And one of the features on there is Divine Marie and the Urban Conservative as well. Carol White, who is also on in the comments, is also on the album. I really do enjoy spitting out things that are from my perspective, but making sure that I can resonate with people. So if I don't know why it keeps freezing on me. Let me just put up my face. All right. So I really appreciate it if y'all could follow me on Bandcamp, subscribe to my Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, whatever your flavor is. But also, we would like for y'all to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're a part of a conscious collective of creators seeking to help elevate the world, known as One Umbrella. You can follow us on YouTube and Circumstantial Saint and Divine Marie. We also have YouTubes, Instagrams, TikToks, Facebook pages. You can follow. Just search our names, Divine Marie and Circumstantial Saint. We try to be as accessible as possible. And we really would love and value and cherish your support by all means. And again, we will be back with duality as the next topic. Was it the 23rd, right?
Yes, August the 23rd. So mark your calendars. We're going to be talking about duality. And if you would like to be a featured poet, hit us up because we're always love to hear, other poets and writers and what you guys have to say and hear your perspective. So yes, if you have some stuff that you would like to share about duality, please hit us up. It would be awesome to have some new people on. So yeah.
Yes. All right, y'all. I guess it's time for us to get out of here. But if you do want more information on inner child work, shadow work, healing journeys, you can reach out to us at any time. And we put those links in the comment section for y'all to check out. Again, remember, subscribe, follow to us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And you can catch clips of this on Instagram momentarily. Yes, y'all. Yes, y'all. Be blessed and have a great day.
Have a good night, y'all.
Circumstantial.
Divine Marie.
Breathe.